I want you to think about the last time you were in your garden. Maybe you were pulling weeds. Maybe you were watering. Maybe you were just enjoying the evening air, walking slowly between your flower beds, feeling that quiet satisfaction that only gardeners understand. Now I want you to consider something deeply uncomfortable. What if something was watching you the whole time? Not from outside your fence, not from the woods nearby, but from inside your garden, tucked underneath those wide, lush leaves you planted last spring, coiled quietly beneath that dense, beautiful ground cover you added for texture, resting perfectly still inside that thick ornamental cluster you've been so proud of. Here's what most gardening channels will never tell you. Snakes don't end up in gardens by coincidence. They don't stumble in randomly and hope for the best. They follow a very specific, very deliberate trail of signals: warmth, cover, food, safety, and certain perennial plants. Ones that are genuinely gorgeous, ones that experts recommend, ones that are sitting in garden centers right now in the UK, Australia, and all across the United States, broadcast those exact signals like a radio tower. So today we are going to talk about 11 of them, what they look like, why you probably already have at least 2 or 3 of them, and most importantly, what's actually happening beneath those beautiful leaves that you cannot see with the naked eye. Stay with me, because one of these plants might be in your garden right now. Welcome to Evergreen Garden Life. If you are new here, please hit the subscribe button, like and share this video with a fellow gardener who needs to see this, and make sure you turn on the notification bell, so you never miss out on information like this. And drop a comment below telling me what time you are watching, and where you are tuning in from. I read every single one. Now let's get into this. Before we get into the plants themselves, we need to talk about something that almost nobody in the gardening space explains properly. And once you understand this, everything else in this video will make complete sense. Most people think snakes show up in gardens because of bad luck, or because they live nearby in the wild. And while location does play a role, the real reason snakes keep returning to certain gardens, and completely ignoring others, comes down to something called microhabitat. A microhabitat is essentially a small, specific environment within a larger space that perfectly meets the survival needs of a particular animal. Think of it like a custom-built apartment. The right temperature, the right level of moisture, easy access to food, strong protection from predators. When a garden accidentally creates that combination, snakes don't just visit, they move in. And here is where it gets really important for you as a gardener. Snakes are not actually attracted to plants directly in most cases. What they are attracted to is everything the plant quietly sets in motion. The insects a plant draws and feed the frogs. The frogs attract the snakes. The dense foliage of a plant creates the perfect hiding spot. The moisture a plant retains keeps the soil cool and comfortable. The thick root systems create underground tunnels and gaps that feel like natural burrows. Every single plant on this list does at least one of these things, and several of them do all of them at the same time. This is not about fear. This is about understanding your garden at a deeper level than most gardeners ever get to. Because when you understand the chain reaction, you can make smarter decisions about what you plant, where you plant it, and how you maintain it. Knowledge is always the most powerful gardening tool you have. Now let us get into the 11 plants. Plant number 1, yarrow, Achillea millefolium. Yarrow is one of those plants that experienced gardeners absolutely love. It is hardy, drought-tolerant, it blooms in beautiful clusters of white and pink flowers, and it requires very little maintenance. You will find it in cottage gardens all across England, in wildflower meadows throughout the American Midwest, and in perennial borders across Europe. It sounds perfect. And in many ways it is, just not in the way you might expect. Here is what yarrow does that most gardeners never think about. Its fragrant foliage is remarkably effective at keeping larger mammals and predators away from the area around it. Deer avoid it. Certain insects that attract larger animals tend to stay clear of its stronger scent. What that means in practical terms is that the space around a yarrow plant becomes unusually quiet and undisturbed. And for a snake looking for a safe, peaceful resting spot away from threats, that quiet, undisturbed environment is exactly what it is searching for. Yarrow essentially clears the area of things that would disturb a snake, making it one of the most passively effective snake-attracting perennials in any garden. Plant number 2, Echinacea/coneflower. If you have ever grown coneflower, you already know how spectacular it is. Those bold, daisy-like blooms in deep purples, pinks and oranges are genuinely one of the most eye-catching sights in any summer garden. Gardeners across the United States and throughout Western Europe grow it by the thousands, and pollinators absolutely go wild for it. Bees, butterflies, hoverflies, they all flock to Echinacea in enormous numbers. And that is precisely the problem. That explosion of pollinator activity does not go unnoticed. It draws in insects in huge volumes, and insects draw in frogs, lizards, and small rodents. Suddenly the area around your coneflower bed has become a thriving, active feeding ground. And snakes, which sit at the top of that particular food chain, follow that activity directly. On top of that, Echinacea grows in dense, bushy clusters that create thick ground-level coverage. That bushy growth acts as a natural shield, protecting anything hiding within it from overhead predators like birds of prey. For a snake, that overhead protection combined with a reliable food source right outside its hiding spot is an arrangement it will return to again and again. Plant number 3, goldenrod, solidago. Goldenrod is a plant with a slightly complicated reputation. Some gardeners love it for its tall, feathery golden plumes that light up the late summer garden. Others consider it a weed. But whatever your opinion of it, one thing is not up for debate. Goldenrod is extraordinarily effective at building and sustaining a complete wildlife ecosystem around itself. It provides nourishment through the insects it attracts. It provides protection through the height and density of its stems. And it provides a habitat through the activity and diversity of wildlife it supports around it. In practical terms, goldenrod does not just attract one element that snakes need. It delivers all of them together in one place: food, shelter, and a thriving living environment. Gardeners in the American Northeast and across Northern Europe who grow goldenrod in large clusters are often unknowingly creating one of the most complete snake-friendly environments possible, without realizing it. Plant number 4, clover *, Trifolium spp. *. Clover is one of those plants that appears in gardens almost without invitation. Many gardeners actively plant it as a ground cover, or let it spread naturally through lawn areas. It is low maintenance, it fixes nitrogen in the soil, and its little white flowers are genuinely charming. Across the United Kingdom and throughout American suburban gardens, clover is considered a completely harmless and even beneficial addition to any outdoor space. But here is what clover quietly sets in motion beneath that charming surface. Its flowers are magnets for bees and butterflies. That insect activity draws in frogs. The frogs attract rats and small rodents. And the dense, low-lying, moisture-retaining mat of clover creates exactly the kind of damp, cool, ground-level environment that snakes find deeply comfortable. The combination of reliable food sources wandering through and a perfectly conditioned resting surface makes clover one of the most consistently snake-friendly ground cover plants in temperate gardens. The fact that it spreads so easily means that the problem only compounds season after season if left unmanaged. Plant number 5, hosta. Ask any shade gardener in America or the UK to name their favorite plant, and there is a very good chance they will say hosta. And it is easy to understand why. Hostas come in extraordinary variety: giant sweeping blue-green leaves, delicate golden varieties, dramatic variegated patterns. They are extraordinarily versatile. They thrive in zones 3 through 9, and they handle shade better than almost any other perennial. They are genuinely one of the most beloved plants in the gardening world. They are also one of the most effective snake habitats you can accidentally create. The combination of factors that make hostas so appealing to gardeners is the exact same combination that makes them appealing to snakes. Rich, consistently moist soil. Dense, wide leaf coverage that creates deep shadow at ground level. A cool, humid microenvironment that maintains comfortable temperatures even during warm summer months. Snakes are cold-blooded and rely entirely on their environment to regulate their body temperature. A hosta bed essentially does that temperature regulation work for them. It is cool when they need cool and sheltered when they need shelter. Many gardeners across the United States have reported finding snakes resting in hosta beds so comfortably that they barely moved when approached. That level of comfort does not happen by accident. And before we continue, If you are finding this valuable, if this is opening your eyes to things about your garden you never considered before, please do me a favor right now and hit that subscribe button. Because the next plant on this list is one that is in millions of gardens across America and Europe right now, and almost nobody connects it to snake activity. If you are not subscribed, there is a very real chance you are going to miss the follow-up video where we go even deeper into garden wildlife management. Don't let that happen. Subscribe now and let's keep going. Plant number 6, Milkweed Asclepias. Milkweed has had a beautiful moment in the gardening world over the last decade. As awareness of the monarch butterfly crisis grew across North America, gardeners from California to Canada started planting milkweed en masse to support pollinator populations. It became a symbol of responsible, wildlife-friendly gardening. Garden centers across the United States and parts of Western Europe stocked it heavily, and the intentions behind planting it could not be more admirable. But milkweed does something beyond supporting butterflies. It supports an enormously diverse range of insect life. Beetles, aphids, grasshoppers, bugs of all varieties live on and around milkweed plants throughout the growing season. And that insect abundance is exactly what draws snakes in. Grass snakes in particular are drawn to milkweed branches, where they hunt insects and small creatures with remarkable ease. The vertical structure of the plant gives them climbing opportunities, the dense insect population gives them consistent food, and the surrounding foliage gives them cover. Planting milkweed is one of the most ecologically generous things a gardener can do, but it is important to understand the full picture of what that ecological generosity invites. Plant number 7, Switchgrass, Panicum virgatum. Switchgrass is a native North American perennial grass that has become enormously popular in modern garden design across the United States, and increasingly across the United Kingdom and Northern Europe. Landscape designers love it for its movement. The way it sways and catches light in the late afternoon is genuinely beautiful. It is drought-tolerant, low maintenance, and provides excellent winter interest with its feathery seed heads catching frost on cold mornings. It is also, arguably, one of the most structurally perfect snake environments you can plant. Switchgrass grows in tall, dense clumps that create areas inside them where snakes can remain completely undisturbed for extended periods. Not hours, days. The interior of a mature switchgrass clump is effectively invisible from the outside. It maintains its own microclimate inside, cooler than the surrounding garden, sheltered from wind, and surprisingly humid. Mice and small rodents are regularly found sheltering in and around switchgrass clumps, which means the food supply is built directly into the habitat. For a snake, finding a switchgrass clump in a garden is essentially finding a fully furnished home with a stocked kitchen attached. Plant number 8, Pampas grass, Cordaderia celoana. If switchgrass is a furnished apartment for snakes, Pampas grass is the penthouse. It is one of the most dramatic and visually striking plants available to gardeners. Those enormous feathery silver plumes rising 4, 5, sometimes 6 feet above the garden on thick, towering clumps are genuinely spectacular. Gardens across the southern United States, throughout Spain and Portugal, and across warmer parts of the UK and Australia have embraced Pampas grass as a statement plant for decades. But the sheer size and density of a mature Pampas grass clump creates concealment on a scale that very few other garden plants can match. The base of a fully grown Pampas grass plant is an almost impenetrable mass of thick, overlapping foliage and dry, accumulated leaf litter. It is dark, sheltered, thermally stable, and almost completely inaccessible to predators. The combination of near-total concealment, accumulated organic debris that attracts insects and rodents, and the sheer physical size of the habitat means that large, mature Pampas grass clumps in gardens can house multiple snakes simultaneously across a full season. This is a plant that needs regular base clearing maintenance not just for aesthetic reasons, but for genuine safety awareness. Plant number 9, Jasmine perennial varieties. Jasmine is one of the most universally beloved plants on the planet. Its scent is extraordinary, its flowers are delicate and beautiful, and it has been grown in gardens across the Mediterranean, throughout the Middle East, across Asia, and increasingly in British and American gardens for centuries. There is something deeply romantic about jasmine, something that makes a garden feel special and intentional. And the same warm, tangled, fragrant stems and dense leaf coverage that make jasmine so enchanting to gardeners make it equally attractive to snakes seeking a resting place. Perennial jasmine varieties grow in thick, interwoven tangles that create countless small gaps, pockets and tunnels within the plant structure. Those internal spaces are warm. The dense foliage traps heat effectively, they are sheltered from wind and rain, and they are largely invisible from the outside. For a snake seeking a safe, warm, undisturbed resting spot, the interior of a mature jasmine plant is close to ideal. Many gardeners across the south of England and throughout the warmer states of America have been surprised to discover snakes resting comfortably deep within jasmine growth, completely relaxed and entirely hidden from view. Plant number 10. Taro, Colocasia esculenta. Taro is a tropical perennial that has found a passionate following among adventurous gardeners across the American South, Hawaii, parts of coastal California, and throughout the warmer regions of southern Europe. Its enormous, dramatic leaves, sometimes reaching the size of an umbrella, create a lush, tropical atmosphere that few other plants can replicate in a temperate garden setting. But taro grows best in consistently wet, muddy, waterlogged soil. And that soil type is an ecosystem in itself. Frogs and toads colonize moist taro beds almost immediately. Insects thrive in the damp environment. Small amphibians shelter beneath the giant leaves during the day. What you end up with beneath a healthy taro planting is essentially a fully functioning wetland food chain in miniature. And snakes, which prey on exactly the creatures that thrive in that environment, are drawn to taro beds with remarkable reliability. Gardeners in Florida, Louisiana, and coastal areas of Spain and Portugal who grow taro near water features, or in naturally damp garden areas, should be particularly aware of the ecosystem they are building beneath those spectacular leaves. Plant number 11. Ornamental stonecrop/sedum. Sedum is the plant that surprises people most on this list. It is succulent, low-growing, incredibly drought-tolerant, and widely considered one of the safest, most manageable perennials in any garden. Rock gardens across the United Kingdom, dry border plantings throughout continental Europe, and xeriscape gardens all across the American West rely heavily on sedum for ground coverage and late-season color. But sedum planted in rock gardens creates a combination that is particularly attractive to snakes for a very specific reason. Rocks retain and radiate heat with extraordinary efficiency. Snakes, as cold-blooded animals, rely on external heat sources to regulate their body temperature, a behavior called thermoregulation. A rock garden planted with sedum gives a snake the perfect combination of a reliable heat source in the rocks themselves and dense, low ground coverage in the sedum to retreat into when temperatures get too high, or when a predator approaches. The rock and sedum combination is one of the most classically snake-friendly garden environments in existence, and it appears in well-intentioned, beautifully maintained gardens across America and Europe every single day. Now let's have an honest conversation about risk, because this video is not about creating panic, and it would not be responsible to present this information without balance. The truth is that the vast majority of snakes that find their way into gardens across the United States, the United Kingdom, and Europe are completely non-venomous. Garter snakes, grass snakes, rat snakes, king snakes. These are the species most commonly found in garden environments, and they are genuinely beneficial. They control rodent populations, manage insect levels, and contribute to a healthy, balanced garden ecosystem. Finding one of these snakes in your garden is actually a sign that your garden is ecologically alive and functioning well. However, the risk conversation changes significantly when you have young children who play in the garden regularly. It changes when you have pets, particularly dogs and cats, who explore garden beds without supervision. And it changes depending entirely on where you live. Gardeners in the American South and Southwest share their landscapes with genuinely venomous species including copperheads, cottonmouths, and rattlesnakes. In Australia, the risk profile is even more significant. Understanding which plants create snake-friendly conditions in your specific garden, in your specific region, is not paranoia. It is responsible gardening. So what do you actually do with this information? Here is where it becomes practical. The single most effective thing you can do immediately is manage the density and ground level coverage of the plants on this list. Snakes need concealment at ground level more than almost anything else. Regularly clearing the base of large ornamental grasses like pampas and switchgrass removes the accumulated leaf litter and debris that creates ground-level habitat. Lifting and thinning hosta clumps every few years reduces the moisture-retaining density that makes them so comfortable. Keeping jasmine and other climbing or sprawling perennials well-trimmed and off the ground removes the internal pocket spaces snakes rest in. Strategic companion planting is your second line of defense. Marigolds planted along garden borders release compounds from their roots that snakes find deeply uncomfortable to move across. Lemongrass contains citronella, which affects a snake's ability to hunt effectively through scent disruption. Wormwood, daffodils, and certain varieties of allium are all well-documented natural deterrents that can be woven into existing garden designs without sacrificing beauty or biodiversity. Finally, and this is the most important practical point of all, do not eliminate the biodiversity your garden has built. The goal is not to sterilize your garden or rip out every plant on this list. The goal is informed management. Relocate the densest plantings away from children's play areas and main walkways. Create clear, open sightlines through your garden so nothing is truly hidden. Maintain your plants actively rather than letting them grow into impenetrable masses season after season. A well-maintained garden that contains these plants is a beautiful, thriving, ecologically rich space. An unmaintained one becomes something else entirely. Your garden is one of the most powerful ecosystems you will ever be responsible for. Every plant you choose, every decision you make about where things grow and how they are managed, sends ripples through an entire chain of life that extends far beyond what you can see on the surface. The 11 plants we covered today are not villains. They are not plants to be feared or immediately removed. They are plants to be understood, deeply, honestly, and with the full picture in front of you. Because that is what separates a good gardener from a great one. Not just knowing what to plant, but understanding everything that comes with it. If this video gave you something, a new perspective, a moment of recognition about something in your own garden, a piece of information you are genuinely going to act on, then please do not keep it to yourself. Share it with someone who gardens. Leave a comment below telling me which of these 11 plants is currently in your garden right now. I genuinely want to know. And if you have not subscribed yet, I want you to think about this. Every week on this channel we go this deep into the topics that actually matter to real gardeners. Not surface-level tips. Not content you have seen 100 times before. Real, researched, honest garden education. If you leave without subscribing, this is the kind of video you will spend weeks trying to find again, and never quite manage to. Don't do that to yourself. Hit subscribe, turn on the bell, and I will see you in the next one.